in Des Moines with the candidates for the Democratic presidential nomination. Senator Sanders, I want to start with you. Let's say you're elected president. Congratulations.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
You've said you'll have a revolution,
yes.
But there's a conservative revolution going on in America right now. As John Boehner knows, and as Democrats know who've lost in state houses across the country, Those conservatives are watching tonight and probably shaking their heads. So how do you deal with that part of the country? The revolution's already happening, but on the other side.
And we are going to do a political revolution which brings working people, young people, senior citizens, minorities together. Because every issue that I am talking about, paid family and medical leave, breaking up the banks on Wall Street, asking the wealthy to pay their fair share of taxes, rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure, raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Every one of those issues is supported by a significant majority of the American people. Problem is that as a result of a corrupt campaign finance system, Congress is not listening to the American people. It's listening to the big money interest. What the political revolution is about is bringing people together to finally say enough is enough. This government belongs to us, not just the billionaires.
Senator, as a 30-second follow-up, we've heard already tonight this figure 92% of support for background checks. Let's look at that as an example. There was something 92% of the public was for it. There had been these mass shootings. There was emotional support behind it.
Yes.
Bipartisan support.
Yes.
The president, the full force of his office.
Yep.
It went nowhere. That's the model you're talking about. Nothing happened.
What we need is leadership in this country which revitalizes American democracy and makes people understand that if they stand up and fight back and take on the billionaire class, we can bring about the change that we need. If we are not successful, if we continue the same old of Washington being run by corporate lobbyists and big money interests, nothing changes. I am very happy in this campaign that we have had rallies with tens of thousands of people, mostly young people. What the polls are showing is that we are actually defeating the secretary among younger people. We're giving young people and working people hope that real change can take place in America. That's what the political revolution is about.
A question from Kathy Abradovich.
Yes, Senator Sanders, you famously said in the last debate that you were sick and tired of hearing about your damn emails. But then you told the Wall Street Journal that the questions about whether or not Secretary Clinton's emails compromised classified information were valid questions. So which is it? Is it an issue or is it not?
That's just media stuff. I was sick and tired of Hillary Clinton's email. I am still sick and tired of Hillary Clinton's email. And the issue is, the problem is the front pages every day we're dealing with that. I didn't know I had so much power. But after I said that, we're not hearing much about Hillary Clinton. What I would like for the media now is for us to be talking about why the middle class is disappearing, why we have more people in jail than any other country, why we have massive levels of income and wealth inequality, and we're the only major country on earth without paid family and medical leave. We've gotten off of Hillary's emails. Good. Let's go to the major issues facing America.
Secretary Clinton, your response.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
Secretary Clinton, your response.
I agree completely. I couldn't have said it better myself. But I did want to. I wanted to follow up. Look, we need more Americans to be involved in the political process, and I give Senator Sanders a lot of credit for really lighting a fire under many people, young, old, everybody who sees a chance to be involved and have their voice heard. Look at what's happening with the Republicans. They are doing everything they can to prevent the voices of Americans to be heard. They're trying to prevent people from registering to vote. So we do need to take on the Republicans very clearly and directly. But the other thing I just wanted quickly to say is, I think President Obama deserves more credit than he gets for what he got done in Washington despite the Republican obstructionism.
Secretary Clinton, just one more question on the email question. For Democrats, there's an FBI investigation going on. Can you satisfy Democrats who might worry about another shoe dropping, that you and your staff have been totally truthful to them and that another shoe is not going to drop?
Well, I think after 11 hours, that's pretty clear, yes. I do think it's important to do exactly what Senator Sanders said, and that is to start talking about the issues that the American people really care about and that they talk to each of us about, and to contrast. Even there are differences among us. You've heard some of those tonight. I still want to get back to health care because I think that's a worthy topic to explore. But the differences among us pale compared to what's happening on the Republican side. And if you listen to what they say, and I had a chance over those 11 hours to watch and listen as well as what I see in their debates, they are putting forth alarming plans. I mean, all of us support funding Planned Parenthood. All of us believe climate change is real. All of us want equal pay for equal work. They don't believe in any of that. So let's focus on what this election is really going to be about.
Race relations is another issue everyone cares about, and we're going to switch to that now. Governor O'Malley, let me ask you a question. The head of the FBI recently said it might be possible that some police forces are not enforcing the law because they're worried about being caught on camera. The acting head of the Drug Enforcement Administration said a similar thing. Where are you on this question, and what would you do if you were president and two top members of your administration were floating that idea?
Well, John, I think the call of your question is how can we improve both public safety in America and race relations in America, understanding how very intertwined both of those issues are in a very, very difficult and painful way for us as a people. Look, the truth of the matter is that we should all feel a sense of responsibility as Americans to look for the things that actually work to save and redeem lives, and to do more of them, and to stop doing the things that don't. For my part, that's what I have done in 15 years of experience as a mayor and as a governor. We restored voting rights to 52,000 people. We decriminalized possession of small amounts of marijuana. I repealed the death penalty. And we also put in place a civilian review board. We reported openly discourtesy and lethal force and brutality complaints. This is something that, and I put forward a new agenda for criminal justice reform that is informed by that experience. So as president, I would lead these efforts, and I would do so with more experience and probably the attendance at more gravesides than any of the three of us on this stage when it comes to urban crime, loss of lives. And the truth is, I have learned on a very daily basis that, yes, indeed, Black lives matter.
All right, Governor. Senator Sanders, one of your former colleagues, an African-American member of Congress, said to me recently that a young African-American man had asked him where to find hope in life. And he said, I just don't know what to tell him about being young and Black in America today. What would you tell that young African-American man?
Well, this is what I would say, and the congressman was right. According to the statistics that I'm familiar with, a Black male baby born today stands a 1 in 4 chance of ending up in the criminal justice system. 51% of high school African-American graduates are unemployed or underemployed. We have more people in jail today than any other country on earth. We're spending $80 billion locking people up, disproportionately Latino and African-American. We need very clearly major reform in a broken criminal justice system from top to bottom. And that means when police officers out in a community do illegal activity, kill people who are unarmed, who should not be killed, they must be held accountable. It means that we end minimum sentencing for those people arrested. It means that we take marijuana out of the federal law as a crime and give states the freedom to go forward with legalizing marijuana.
Secretary Clinton, you told some Black Lives Matter activists recently that there's a difference between rhetoric and activism, and what you were trying to do was enforce law or get laws passed that would help what they were pushing for. But recently at the University of Missouri, that activism was very, very effective. So would you suggest that kind of activism take place at other universities across the country?
Well, John, I come from the 60s, a long time ago, There was a lot of activism on campus, civil rights activism, anti-war activism, women's rights activism. And I do appreciate the way young people are standing up and speaking out. Obviously, I believe that on a college campus, there should be enough respect so people hear each other. But what happened at the university there, what's happening at other universities, I think reflects the deep sense of, concern, even despair that so many young people, particularly of color, have. I recently met with a group of mothers who lost their children to either killings by police or random killings in their neighborhoods, and hearing their stories was so incredibly, profoundly heartbreaking. Each one of them, described their child, had a picture, the mother of the young man with his friends in the car who was playing loud music, and some older white man pulled out a gun and shot him because they wouldn't turn the radio down, or a young woman who had been performing at President Obama's second inauguration, coming home, an absolutely stellar young woman, hanging out with her friends in a park, getting shot by a gang member. And of course, I met the mothers of Eric Garner and Tamir Rice and Michael Brown and Trayvon Martin, and so many of them who have lost their children. So your original question is the right question, and it's not just a question for parents and grandparents to answer. It's really a question for all of us to answer. Every single one of our children deserves the chance to live up to his or her God-given potential. And that's what we need to be doing to the best of our ability in our country.
Over to Kevin Cooney of Texas.
Senator Sanders, we've heard a lot about this, your offer. You want to offer free tuition at public universities and colleges.
Yes.
A couple of questions about this. 63% of those who enroll graduate. First question, isn't this throwing a lot of money away if we're looking at a third of these people are not going to complete college?
No, it is not throwing. It is an extraordinary investment for this country. Germany, many other countries do it already. In fact, as you remember, 50, 60 years ago, University of California, City University of New York were virtually tuition free. Here is the story. It's not just that college graduates should be $50,000 or $100,000 in debt. More importantly, I want kids in Burlington, Vermont, or Baltimore, Maryland, who are in the 6th grade or the 8th grade, who don't have a lot of money, whose parents, like my parents, may never have gone to college. Do you know what I want, Kevin? I want those kids to know that if they study hard, they do their homework, regardless of the income of their families, they will, in fact, be able to get a college education, because we're going to make public colleges and universities tuition free. This is revolutionary for education in America. It will give hope to millions of young people.
Well, one of the things that you want to do is to have the states pay for about a third of this $70 billion plan, correct?
Yes.
There are 16 states that are running budget deficits right now. Where are they expected to come up with?
Well, I think that they're going to be pretty smart, because I think a lot of states will do the right thing, and I think those states that don't will pay a heavy penalty. Bottom line here is, in the year 2015, we should look at a college degree the same way we looked at a high school degree 50 or 60 years ago. If you want to make it into the middle class, I'm not saying in all cases, we need plumbers and we need carpenters and electricians, that's for sure, and they should get help as well. But bottom line now is, in America, in the year 2015, any person who has the ability and the desire should be able to get an education, college education, regardless of the income of his or her family. And we must substantially lower, as my legislation does, interest rates on student debt.
Governor O'Malley, jump in, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Look, I would agree with much of what Senator Sanders says, Kevin. I believe that actually affordable college, debt-free college, is the goal that we need to attain as a nation. And unlike my two distinguished colleagues on this stage, I actually made college more affordable and was the only state that went 4 years in a row without a penny's increase to college tuition. I respectfully disagree with Senator Sanders' approach. I believe that the goal should be debt-free college. I believe that our federal government needs to do more on Pell Grants. States need to stop cutting higher education, and we should create a new block grant program that keeps the state skin in the game, and we should lower these outrageous interest rates that parents and kids are being charged by their own government, 7% and 8%. to go to college? I mean, my dad went to college on a GI Bill after coming home from Japan, flying 33 missions. My daughters went to college on a mountain of bills. Man, we were proud of them on graduation day, but we're going to be proud every month for the rest of our natural lives. It doesn't need to be that way. We can have debt-free college in the United States.
Kevin, if I could just jump in, I believe that we should make community college free. We should have debt-free college. If you go to a public college or university, you should not have to borrow a dime to pay tuition. I want to use Pell Grants to help defray the living expenses that often make a difference whether a young person can stay in school or not. I disagree with free college for everybody. I don't think taxpayers should be paying to send Donald Trump's kids to college. I think it ought to be a compact. Families contribute, kids contribute, and together we make it possible for a new generation of young people to refinance their debt and not come out with debt in the future.
All right, Nancy Cordes has a question.
Back to health care by popular demand. First to you, Senator Sanders. You'd prefer to scrap Obamacare and move to a single-payer system, essentially Medicare for all. You say you want to put the private insurance companies out of business. Is it realistic to think that you can pull the plug on a $1 trillion industry?
It's not going to happen tomorrow. And it's probably not going to happen until we have real campaign finance reform and get rid of all these super PACs and the power of the insurance companies and the drug companies. But at the end of the day, Nancy, here is the question. In this great country of ours, with so much intelligence and so much capability, why do we remain the only major country on earth that does not guarantee health care to all people as a right? Why do we continue to get ripped off by the drug companies who can charge us any prices they want? Why is it that we are spending per capita far, far more than Canada, which is 100 miles away from my door, that guarantees health care to all people? It will not happen tomorrow. But when millions of people stand up and are prepared to take on the insurance companies and the drug companies, it will happen, and I will lead that effort. Medicare for all, single-payer system is the way we should go.
Secretary Clinton, back in 1994, you said that momentum for a single-payer system would sweep the country. That sounds Sanders-esque, but you don't feel that way anymore. Why not?
Well, the revolution never came. I waited, and I got the scars to show for it. We now have this great accomplishment known as the Affordable Care Act, and I don't think we should have to be defending it among Democrats. We ought to be working to improve it and prevent Republicans from both undermining it and even repealing it. I've looked at the legislation that Senator Sanders has proposed, and basically he does eliminate the Affordable Care Act, eliminates private insurance, eliminates Medicare, eliminates Medicaid, TRICARE, Children's Health Insurance Program, puts it all together in a big program which he then hands over to the states to administer. And I have to tell you, I would not want, if I lived in Iowa, Terry Branstad administering my health care. As Democrats, we ought to proudly support the Affordable Care Act, improve it, and make it the model that we know it can be.
Well, let me just say something.
30 seconds.
We don't eliminate Medicare. We expand Medicare to all people. And we will not, under this proposal, have a situation that we have right now with the Affordable Care Act. We have states like South Carolina and many other Republican states that, because of their right-wing political ideology, are denying millions of people the expansion of Medicaid that we passed in the Affordable Care Act. Ultimately, we have got to say as a nation, Secretary Clinton, is health care a right of all people, or is it not? I believe it is.
May I jump in here for 30 seconds on health care?
I'm sorry, Governor, we've got to take a break or the machine breaks down. You're watching the Democratic debate here on CBS.